Welcome everyone. Welcome. So thrilled for you all to be here today. My name is Blakely. I'm one of the creators of Pre-Pro, and today we're going to walk through the basics. Yes, the basics of using Pre-Pro. So get out your iPad, get out your Mac. Let's have a good time making something together with Pre-Pro. So I'm going to switch over here so that you can see my iPad. Today I'm going to be using an iPad instead of a Mac. So just know that as we use it, I'll probably be clicking with a mouse, but I'll try and make sure that I refer to everything as a tap as well, since most of the time when you're using this, you're going to be on your feet moving around, and you'll want to use your finger or your Apple Pencil as well. And so now you should be able to see my iPad and the home screen of Pre-Pro. So if you haven't opened Pre-Pro yet on your device, go ahead and make sure that you have opened that. And once you open Pre-Pro, you should see this awesome home screen here in front of you. If you haven't used it yet, it will probably have no projects there in your recent projects folder, but I've been busy creating. Also, we've got a chat going on this live stream, so if at any point during my presentation today / through our working experience together over the next little bit, feel free to type any questions you might have into the chat there, and I will try to answer those the best I can for you. But with that being said, let's dive right into it. So this, as I said, is going to be the home screen of Pre-Pro. Now, if you haven't created projects yet, yours will probably just show the universal library icon here at the top, the project library icon, and the new project button down here. Now, to get started, we're going to start with the universal library. Now, Pre-Pro has a ton of different ways for you to input your own custom materials into the app. So if you have specific songs that you might want to use, if you have specific scenic models from a scenic designer that you might want to incorporate, as well as certain images, scripts, videos, and maybe you have a custom flooring that you want to use, or you want to input an image of a ground plan so that you have a specific idea of your stage layout or your set layout. You can do that there. So these icons will be at the top of every project screen in Pre-Pro. And the universal library is essentially your own mini catch-all within Pre-Pro. So even if you start a project and you put in a piece of audio specific to that project, Pre-Pro will move it back to the universal library so that you have the ability to pull that song into another existing project or a new project that you have yet to create. So it allows you to move these pieces of media and assets across your other projects so you don't have to find them again, which is super convenient. Next, we're going to create a project. Yes, a new project. If you have pre-existing projects, you can click the library, and it will show you your pre-existing projects, or you can import a project from a friend or fellow colleague. Yes, you can export and import projects from Pre-Pro from other users, and that's going to be the best way to collaborate with your teammates. But we're going to jump back to create new projects. So go ahead and tap on that with your finger. Click on it if you're using a mouse, or maybe you're using an Apple Pencil. You can go ahead and tap on that as well, but I find the finger is the best. It is a built-in Apple Pencil. So now you'll see once we've created this new project, we are presented with the same screen as the universal library. We've got our venues, which would be a specific theater model that a scenic designer might provide you with. Any scenic assets, so think custom set pieces that you might need for your production, your film, or your corporate event. Any videos you might want to incorporate for any of your performers within the project. Images, we'll get to images. You can apply those to performers and other assets as well. Scripts, maybe run of show, anything like that that you might need quick access to take some notes on while you're working with pre-pro. Audio, like I said, songs, background music, even dialogue if you're working on a play maybe, and you have the dialogue recorded. It's an easy way to work through blocking as well, so not just music specific. And flooring, like I mentioned before, either your scenic designer has painted a custom floor, or you just desire a custom floor, or you don't have 3D models from your scenic designer, but you still want to see the accurate layout of your ground plan. That's the way you want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and tap on Untitled 9 up here because we want to name it something special. And I'll go ahead and delete this and call this Pre-Pro Live Stream. And click Done. And now we're going to create our first performance. So I'll go ahead and tap on Create Performance. And once you've done that, you should now see this awesome screen here that has a list of about 9 venues or so. So we've got venues built in to pre-pro so that you can get started right away. We went through, tried to create some of the most common venues that you might find when using pre-pro, as well as a blank stage in case you're not working in the entertainment field. Maybe you're working in corporate events or things like that, and you just need a blank floor to move people and assets around on. We've got that right there for you as well. So today, we are going to start with our small proscenium stage. Now, as I mentioned before, you can import custom venues from a scenic designer, perhaps a building manager might have a 3D file on hand if you're using a rental venue, things like that. But today, we're not going to cover importing custom venues, but just know that it's possible. And today, we're going to start with a small proscenium. So we're going to go ahead and tap on Small Proscenium. And once I do that, it'll give me the option to preview it or select it. And the preview is going to give us a top-down view from the 3D perspective, and that looks like what we want to choose. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to tap Select. And now it's going to ask us to name our performance. So let's call this Live 1. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to go ahead and load up this venue for us. And here we are. We are in the Playspace, as we like to call it within pre-pro. Now, as you can tell, this is a giant rectangle, and this is a 2D top-down view of your small proscenium stage. And so you can use your finger. Remember, in pre-pro, we use one finger or one click tap selects things, as you'd expect. And we can just tap and move that around, just like that. So I'll move that up here for the time being. And you'll see down here, we've got a little line with a 0. So for those of us working in the live entertainment industry, we use number markings across the front of the stage in order to ensure accurate spacing for staging and for choreography. It also helps keep you safe when there's thousands of pounds of automated scenery and things moving around you. So you really need to be sure that you're accurate with that spacing. So we have a number line built in. We'll get to that in a moment. But now that we're in the Playspace, the most important button in the entire pre-pro palette here on the left-hand side is this button right here. Kind of looks like a cog, and it's got a question mark in the middle of it. This is our Settings and Help button. So in pre-pro, you can tap on things to select, like I said. You can double tap things to bring up more options, and you can long hold. And we long hold to start recording or to enable our help feature. So I'm going to press and hold on this. And you will see now that a screen comes up that describes what every single button on the screen does. So if you ever have a time when you're thinking, what does that tool do, or where is that tool here in the palette on the left side of the screen, just always remember I can go to this Settings and Help button, just press and hold, and this screen will pop up so that you can find the button you are looking for. And when you release it, it disappears, just like that. It's super, super easy. Now, for those of you watching who haven't already started your free trial, subscribed to Pre-Pro, we're going to go ahead and tap in now on the Settings button here. And we're going to go to our store screen. Now, we have a free 14-day trial with Pre-Pro. So be sure when you come to this in-app purchase screen, you want to start your free trial there. You'll get 14 days for free. Some of the things we're going to start to cover in the rest of today's live stream are going to require that to be unlocked. So if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do so now. Or go ahead and just start the free 14-day trial, and you can go from there. We're sure you'll love it by the end of the 14 days. Trust. So we're going to come on back here into our Playspace. And we're going to start with our number line that I talked about earlier. So over here, if I press and hold on my Settings button again, you can see from the bottom a button that says Venue Tools. Now, this venue icon is just like the venue icons in the previous menus that we looked at together. So you'll see this iconography. We try and keep it the same throughout the app, so you'll see things that look familiar to you. So we're going to go to this Venues Tool button right now, and this button contains everything you would want to do about customizing this venue and your X-axis number line here at the front of your stage. So you can see here we've got a toggle on and off switch, and it will disappear if you don't want to see it. I can change the color. So in case you have a stage color where maybe a darker number line looks better, you can do that. I can adjust the opacity. So if you're working on something but you don't want to see the bright white of the number line, you just kind of want it to be there in the background, you can change the opacity of it so it will dim and raise the opacity for you. Also, when I tap Adjust Number Line, you'll see that it turns green. This lovely teal color here, the Pre-Pro teal we call it, and you can touch on it either with your finger or your mouse or your Apple Pencil, and you can move it around. So you can set this number line center wherever you want it to be. So I'm just going to move it up here, and I'm going to sort of guess center for today's exercise. That looks about right. Let's move it a little more. There we go. And then I'm just going to tap the stage, and it will set it for me. Now I'm going to go back into my venue tools over here. It's this lovely button here. It kind of looks like an awesome stadium setup here for a concert. We're going to click on that. And I'm going to enter the number. So let's say you know your stage is 48 feet wide, and your stage goes to 22 on either side. You're just going to type the farthest number that you know your production stage has. So in this case, I don't know, let's use 16 since this is a small proscenium. And once I type in 16 and press done, you'll see that instantly my iPad in Pre-Pro or your Mac will instantly make a number line for you that goes to 16. So you don't have to worry about stretching it out and getting it right. Just type the furthest number. Pre-Pro will do the rest for you. Now remember, all of this is to scale within Pre-Pro. We will get more into custom scaling of specific sets from set designers, venue models from set designers, so that you learn how to scale those accurately. We've made it super simple, but we won't cover that today. Today, we're going to work with our built-in model here, our small proscenium model. We have our number line set up now. You can also see down here, you can add a floor image, which would be that ground plan that I talked about. Or you have the ability to swap venues. That's right. If I tap Venue Swap, I can choose a different model that I have in here, and that will keep all of my staging and scenic assets where they are at, but it swaps out the model. So maybe you're moving venue locations for your production and you want to start to morph it to your next space. You can do that as well. But we will forget that for right now. So I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. And we are going to make some performers next. Yes, let's do it. So you will have guessed that, yes, this little person here is our performer library. I'm going to go ahead and tap my help button again there. You can see is the performer library with our little, looks kind of like they're dancing there. Dancing friend. We're going to tap on that and you will see your performer library menu pop up. And it's empty right now because we haven't made anyone, but we wanted to make it as easy as possible to get people onto the stage for you to start working. So all you have to do is press this plus button here in the upper right-hand corner. And when you do, instantly, you have created a performer just like that. I think I want 6 performers today. So just like that, I've made 6 just by tapping or clicking on that plus button. And you can see we've got some different options here for the performers, but we will get to those in a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tap here on the performer and just hold for a second. And I'm going to start just dragging them in. Just click, hold, and drag, just like that. Super easy. I'm going to go ahead and put all 6 out here onto the stage. Yeah, I feel like that probably looks all right. It will need some adjusting. So now you'll notice that we have numbers in these circles here next to the delete button. This is the number from the x-axis number line from where our performers are actually at on stage. So you can see here, this performer is right off 6. This performer is just off 0 on 1. And as you move your performers around, you're going to tap them to select, just like that. Just tap once. To unselect them, you can tap again, or you can tap on the stage, and it will deselect them. And that's super important to remember. I'll show you why and tell you why in just a minute. So you just tap them again to unselect them, or tap the stage to unselect them. But the number in the shoulder for your performer is live. So as I move this performer, you'll see that number is changing. So you don't have to worry about setting the number yourself. It will do it all for you automatically. Now, you'll notice also here with the rest of the performers here in our performer library that there's an eyeball here, and that lets me turn these performers on and off. So maybe you're focused on a certain performer, maybe 2 performers within the performance that you've created, and you only want to focus on them. You can turn entire performers off so you don't get distracted. Now remember, I also said we have a single tap, double tap, and long hold. Those are the 3 ways you will interact with PrePro. Now with the double tap, you will generally get more options. And you can do that from a menu, or you can do it on the performer itself. So I'm going to show you the performer profile next, and we can get that by double tapping here in the side menu on the desired performer. Or if you double tap on the performer that you're interested in, you will see this little person icon here, and you can tap that, and it will bring you to this same menu. Now what you have here is the performer profile for performer number 3. We're going to go ahead and name this performer Michael. And we want to change their initials to MB. So now you'll notice that, click out here, we have changed MB's icon to the initials that we typed in just a moment ago. We can also turn off this performer's number line in their shoulder in case you don't want to see that and the number line doesn't matter for you. If you're working on a corporate event or things like that, that may only distract you in your process. So you can turn that off for each performer as well. You also have the ability to adjust his or her or their height. We went with an average 5.5 feet tall, but let's say you're working on a production of Sound and Music and you have a bunch of different children at different heights or different adults who have extreme height differences, and you want to see what that is with a stage picture. You can type in a custom height here and the app will reflect that. You also have a lovely little notes section here on the right-hand side. So let's say you have performers or speakers with special skills or certain things that you might want to remember about this particular person. You can tap in this box here and add a custom note, however you want. Super easy. Next, you'll notice here we have icon types on the left-hand side. This is exactly what it says. So you'll see by default, we always choose the solid colored icon. You'll see the little green check next to it. And you have the ability to choose the outlined version, which you'll see it just changed right over here. Tap the solid. And this one allows you to import a picture of your actor if you would like. So you can choose this, and you would tap this avatar button and select an image of that performer. But we are going to deal with just colors today. So I went ahead and chose this solid option, and I'm going to pick color. And you'll see here you have an infinite number of colors to choose from. Infinite number. So let's just move away from our default teal to something more exciting. Let's try this orange. It's October. We're headed to Halloween, so let's choose orange. And once I've tapped and dragged my finger around, I've gotten to the color that I want. I'm going to tap out of it, and you will now see that Michael's color is orange. And I'm going to turn their number back on. And so now you can see Michael is orange, and we are ready to keep going. So I've got my group here set up. I'm going to move them out of the way. So I told you you can select one performer by tapping on them, tapping again to unselect. But I'm going to zoom out here for a moment, and I want to move these performers over here off stage. We have a feature in Pre-Pro called multi-select, and that allows you to take multiple performers together as a group or multiple scenic assets together as a group, which I'll show you in a second. So instead of unselecting the performer I've already selected, I just continue to select the rest of the group. And now when I click on any of them and drag, I can move them anywhere I want as a group. Just like that. Yeah? So I just wanted to move them down here for right now. I'm just going to let go. And then remember, you can tap on the stage to deselect all of them. Just like that. Super easy to get large groups of people, whether you're actually making a recording, which we'll get to in a bit, to get things off of the stage, out of the way, moved to a different stage picture, even if you're not working with animation within Pre-Pro. Just being able to move things around quickly, get new ideas, to be able to take screen captures or anything like that to send to fellow stakeholders allows you to create ideas at a really rapid pace. So now we're going to press our help button here again, and you'll see the assets library. It's the chair right above the performer library. So we're going to go ahead and go to this icon here next, chair, for our assets. And you'll see the asset library menu is here. If you have custom assets imported, they will show up here. And you'll see here as I scroll, we have a bunch of pre-built assets in Pre-Pro already ready for you to use. So I think that I want to use a piano. So the piano's here. Remember, I'm just going to click and hold and drag and drop it. And now I have a piano, a little baby grand piano there on stage. And I think I like these staircases. So I'm going to drag 2 of these staircases right here. And I'm going to click and hold and drag a second one. Let's select it. Remember, just tap to select. And make sure it's nice and that looks good. Not quite center, so I'll tap this one in a multi-select. You can also do it with assets, remember. And I'll just center those off a little bit. And there we go. You can also double tap the asset there to get these extra options that you may have also seen around our performers. And just tap out to deselect. So I'm going to go ahead and take our piano here, and I'm going to make this center. And if I double tap it, you'll see we've got a rotate icon, a Z-axis. So remember, in a second here, we're going to see this all in 3D. And the Z-axis is what makes your performer or scenic asset look like they're flying or sinking. Yes, so the Z-axis is what's going to allow you to fly in scenic elements. Maybe you want to fly people. Maybe you want to use an elevator style approach. You can lower and raise scenic elements and people out of the ground. But for right now, we're just going to deal with this rotation icon. So once I touch it, I'm just going to start to rotate. Don't need to be too careful about it, since while you hold down, you can continue to rotate freely. And I think this looks good, so I'm just going to release there. Tap out, and now you can see my piano is perfectly how I want it with everyone set up where they should be. So now we're going to see all of this in 3D, and I'm going to point out the 3D button right here, but you probably already noticed it. It's a cube that says 3D on it. And we're going to tap that, and once you tap it, you will instantly see what we've created in 3D. It's pretty awesome. At least I think it is. So now you can see you're in a split view, 2D on the bottom and 3D on the top. This over here, this bar here through the center is adjustable. So you can just tap and hold, and you can see I can sort of adjust how much of each camera view that I have. So maybe you want more of the 2D while you're working on your animation. Maybe you want it perfectly split down the middle. I like a 2/3 2D, 1/3 3D, I find when I'm starting to create animation. So in the 2D, remember we talked about selecting. Single tap, double tap for more options, and then there's the press and hold for recording, as well as our help menu. But for the 3D camera, it is going to be a view-only situation. So you can only view what you've created in the 2D version. So if you're ever wanting to change something about what you're seeing, just remember that you're always going to do it the easiest way, which is in your 2D view. If you want to watch things, you can feel free to watch them in 3D. You just won't be able to go and start moving people around in that camera view. But the 3D camera is going to work the exact way that you're already used to using your iPad, which is either by tapping and holding up here, and with a single finger, moving it around allows you to orbit around your scenic model. And remember, that's just one finger touching and holding here in the 3D window and just moving my finger back and forth on the screen. You can also pinch to zoom, and that's going to zoom us in on our model. And also, if you want to lower your camera's perspective, not just angling the model, you can use two fingers together. And when you drag those, it will move the camera up and down, side to side on the same plane. So you don't have to rotate the model. If you're used to video games or things like that, we call this strafing, where it keeps you on the same axis. And that allows me to lower the perspective of the camera to get the viewing angle just where I want it. There. So now you can see we have a setup. Small, but it's still a setup. It's real. We've got two beautiful staircases, a baby grand piano, and some performers. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we are going to want to animate. Yes, we're going to animate these performers today, as well as these scenic assets. So you can see that everything I do in the 2D down here is shown instantly in 3D. So you can start to create stage ideas really, really quickly. Just like that. Let's move that there. I'm probably going to have to move this further off due to sightlines, which is another great thing about Pre-Pro. Sightlines. You never know what your sightlines are going to be until you get into your venue. Sometimes that's during costly technical rehearsals. And being able to sit on your couch, being able to sit on the airplane, being able to be wherever it is that you currently are working, or taking time off, to be able to pre-visualize potential sightline problems before they happen, not only saves your time, but saves tremendous cost in large-scale productions. When you have a full crew on call, full cast on call, and you're adjusting, staging pictures for things that you could have foreseen prior to arriving at the venue. So we're going to move these things off stage here. Remember, we're going to tap to select them. Feel free to drag and move them. Click and drag, or just with your pencil or finger drag them. And then either tap the asset or performer again to unselect it, or I just generally tap the stage and that should unselect them as well. So now I am going to zoom in here. I'm going to adjust this screen. Remember, I generally like to work 2/3, 1/3. It's a little easier for me. So I'm going to come in here like this. I'm going to select my performers. And I'm going to move them off stage. Just like that. Tap the stage and they are unselected. Now I have largely been ignoring this play bar down here. Yes, the play bar. So here you will see we have our undo, redo buttons. So if you've ever moved a performer to a certain side of the stage, you're sure you don't like it, just tap undo and they should move back to their previous location. You'll also see we have a play button. It becomes your play pause or play stop. Fast forward, rewind, as well as this button right here, which is going to open up the timeline. So if I tap on this button right here, you'll see that it opens up a timeline. And this should start to look like other applications you've probably already used. Potentially, you started using them more during the pandemic, but this should start to look like apps you're familiar with, whether it's iMovie, GarageBand, Final Cut, any other sort of editing application you might use to create songs for your dance classes or videos for your choreography reel, things like that. This should start to look very, very familiar to you, and this is why we did it. We want to make sure everything is as easy as possible for you to use. So here on the left-hand side, you will see that we have all of the performers that we've put on stage here to the left-hand side, and I'm just using that by clicking and dragging or tapping and dragging. And you'll see here that there's a toggle switch between our performer and our stage assets. So you'll notice here that our piano and our stairs aren't here. And that's because we wanted everything to be able to be easy to find. And so when you tap that, you will see that now we can see our grand piano and staircases right here. So we kept all of the scenic assets separate from the performers. Once you start to get really, really large projects for large-scale productions happening within pre-pro, there's going to be a lot of elements on and off stage that it's having them as one group we felt was too much. So we separated them. So it's easy. If you know you need a technical element, a scenic element, you can tap this icon right here, tap the toggle, and look at only your scenic elements. You can tap it again, and you can look at all of your performers. So we keep them nice and separate there. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So you'll notice here also at the pre-pro palette, there is the P, yes, the pre-pro P. This button serves no purpose other than to close this toolbar for you. So if this toolbar is getting in the way of things that you are wanting to do, you can always just tap the P, and it will close the palette, just like that. If you want to go back, you will tap this home button. So if we want to go back to our project, I'll go back right now. Let's tap this home button together. And in just a second, you will see that we are back in our pre-pro live stream project folder. And this is the performance file we created. Now, if you're working on some linear type of storytelling, whether this is a musical theater, a play, a film, you can think of these performance files as scenes or individual music numbers, right? And if you're working on corporate events, maybe you have different stage setups. Maybe you have different performances happening on different days that require different stage setups. This allows you to create those setups within one actual project. So as you move along, think, oh, how do I want to break down these performance files? We usually think of them as specific musical numbers or by specific scenes, and that's the best way to do it. And you think of your project folder as your overall production folder for that project. So we're going to jump back into Live 1 right now. Looking good. And you can see here it has saved everything. We'll tap our 3D button, and you can see everyone is moved off stage here. All of our pieces are there. Fantastic. So now we're going to start to record. We want to bring in some music into this today. Now, I know you may not have music on your end, but I'll have some music on my end for you. So we're going to go to this folder right here. It is our media folder. If I tap and hold on my help button, you'll see it says media right there at the top underneath our home button. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on this media folder button. And when you do, you'll see a list of audio, images, and videos. And if I had anything in these projects, I just tap this arrow here on each side, and it expands that menu. And if I want to add something, I just tap this plus. Now you'll see there's already a piece of music here in the project that's available for me to select, and I'm not really interested in that. So I'm going to tap my back button. And I'm going to go back out to the project folder. And I'm going to tap this audio icon here because I want to add some audio to my pre-pro live stream. So once I tap audio, it'll show me my recently imported tracks, or a button that lets me import from my device, or to import from the Universal Library, which will contain all of the audio that I've used across every project within pre-pro. So remember, you can go to the Universal Library to pull assets and other media from other projects to use in this project. But today we're going to go to import from device. And when I tap on that, you'll see it brings up all of your files. and my files right here in this special folder. So I'm going to tap on it. Remember, it needs to be an MP3 to work in Pre-Pro. So you want to make sure whatever track it is, if you get it, there's tons of free audio converters online. So you just want to make sure that you get that converted to an MP3 file. And when I tap on that, it's going to load it. And there we have it. Swing time. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and go into Live 1. And now when I click on my media folder right here in the Pre-Pro palette and I tap down, there we go. Swing time is present. So now I'm going to come back down to my timeline and the timeline icon here to open it, just like that. And I'm going to take this swing time track and I'm going to drag it to where it says song name down here, song name. So I can just drag it anywhere in this area, click and hold, drag and release, and you will see it says swing time MP3 here now, and it has filled the audio portion of the timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And I think I'm going to close my palette here with the P button just to give us a better view. Now you'll notice as you get with bigger and bigger projects, you'll have more and more performers. You can tap and hold on the header here and drag it so you can see more or less performers. So it's fully adjustable. There we go. We're going to do this in 2D right now. And so what I'm about to do is start recording. I'm going to start with my staircases. So remember, single tap selects things and unselects them. Double tap gets you extra options. And the long press starts to record, as well as it helps with our little help menu down there to show you the tools. So in order to do that here, you'll see that my playhead in my timeline is at 0. And I'm going to select this staircase. Now once I select it, I'm going to press and hold, and then release. And you will notice that the P button here in the upper left-hand corner starts to blink red, like a recording button. Haha, you have entered recording mode. So now, the next move you decide to make, once you touch the staircase, the asset, whatever you're using the performer, it's going to start to play back the music and record this traffic pattern in real time. So as I start to do this, you should be able to hear music playing back. I'm going to bring this staircase in nice and easy. Here we go. And lift. And just like that, you will see that as I was doing it, it recorded a path. And instead of thinking of this as like a video clip potentially in iMovie, it's essentially recording the entire path that I drew. So the same rules are going to sort of apply in GarageBand or iMovie that they would here. So this path is here. If I want to select it, I just tap on the center and it selects it, and it'll show me the exact path that I drew, which is pretty awesome. If you want to check in with someone and where they were going, you can see the beginning and the end of what you just drew. I can stretch the ends to expand it, and when you expand, you'll see that obviously I'm moving the edge of this closer to 14 seconds, and that means that it's going to travel the same path I drew. It's just going to travel slower, right? If I shrink it, it's going to travel faster, but it'll still travel the same line that we drew. So I think about 14 seconds looks right. Now if I double tap on the center, I have the ability to delete this path in case I don't like it. Right? Sometimes we make a mistake or we just decide there's actually a better way to do things. We can double tap on that path node and tap the trash can and delete it. Or I can rename it. So let's say this is Alex gets the bowl, or Sally crosses stage right to the chair. You can type whatever description it is you want in there, so you basically have a full visual library of someone's blocking as you scroll the timeline. But we're just going to leave it as path for today. Great. So now I can either click and drag the playhead, or I can just tap anywhere here on the time, and the playhead will jump back, and you'll see that my staircase also jumped back. So now we're going to do the second staircase. So I'm going to tap to select it, or click to select it, and I'm going to press and hold again, and release, and you'll see that the P icon has started to blink, which means I'm in recording mode. And now when I do this, you'll notice that the music is going to play back as well as the recording of the previous staircase. So you can see we're stacking these layers, right? And it allows us to be super specific with what we're doing, because everything else that you've always previously recorded will constantly run its path, which allows you to create extremely accurate traffic patterns very quickly. So I'm going to start to record now. Oh, that jumped there a little bit. That was my finger being sticky. But I'm going to come in here and move this down. I think that's okay. I'm not aiming for perfection today, but I am going to come down here to this node that I just recorded. I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. Just like that. And now when I go back, they both have jumped, and now I'm going to do the piano. So we're going to do the same thing. Remember, tap to select, press and hold, and release, and you'll see that it's in recording mode again. So I'm going to use my pencil or my finger. It can get a little tricky with a mouse, but I find that starting the recordings and things like that with my finger is the best way, and then I switch to my pencil to actually draw the path. The pencil can get very sensitive, which is good when you're wanting to be specific with drawing, but I find that interacting with it with my fingers is the best way until I'm ready to actually draw my traffic paths. So I have the piano ready, and we are in recording mode. Let's start to draw. And I don't know, I'll just do like a squiggly line here, because I don't think this would ever happen in real time. There we go. I feel like that looks good. Just like that. And now I'm going to come back, and we are going to record our performers. So I'm going to go ahead and click this little toggle here so I can see my performers. And I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit. Remember, you can pinch to zoom with the 2D and use your one finger on 2D to move it around. So I'm just going to zoom out here. Let's see. Maybe I want to bring in my star first. So I'm going to tap my performer, just like that. I just tapped him to select. I'll press and hold and release. And now the next move I make is going to start to record the traffic path for this performer. And you'll notice that the staircases and the piano should all start to move. Here we go. You'll also notice as I do this that the line is the color that I've designated for that performer. So once you start to add custom colors to these performers, you'll notice that the line the path line you draw for them is always in the color that you designated for that performer. Don't worry if your lines look a little crazy. It's okay. This is just to be able to start to get ideas. And now we're going to do a multi-select recording. So what's great about this is you'll find a lot of times you're going to want to move large groups of people in a specific formation. And you're thinking to yourself, if I have 30 people or I have a cast of 20 and they're in a wedge and I have to record them 20 individual times. No. Nay. Not with Pre-Pro. We have the ability to do the multi-select recording, which I showed you earlier. So we're going to select each of these performers again together. And now when I tap and hold on any of them and release, I have entered, you'll see over here, recording mode again. And now when I start to draw, I'm going to be drawing and recording paths for all of these performers at the same time. So you could be killing 20 birds with one stone. Once you've hit a stage picture you know that you want to travel together, you can do a multi-select recording and move these groups of performers super easily by recording one time for all of them at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and start to record them here, and I'm going to try and follow my star player. And you'll notice that as the music plays here, there we go. And just like that, we have recorded paths for all of these performers. I'm going to extend my orange path just slightly here by tapping on it. There we go. And I want to make sure that you are getting music from me. I don't know that you are. Let's see here. And I'm not sure why you aren't getting sound from me today, but you'll have to trust that there is audio happening. And when I go to play back all of these paths that I have drawn, and now there's sound. And you'll see the song keeps playing. And I think I want to add, now that we can hear the sound, because I was getting sound on my end during these recordings, but just so that you can see, all of those played exactly as they should have. But I think I want to add another scenic element here. And I think I want to add a bench. Maybe 2 benches. And I'll bring these into the stage. So I'll go back here. Now you don't need to switch back and forth to this timeline. It's just easier for the sake of seeing what we're working on. So we're back at the beginning here. I'm going to tap and hold once I've selected on this bench. And here we go. There we go. Gonna just extend this to match there. Just like that. We'll jump back. And I'll select my friend here on stage left. Tap and hold. Once I've selected it, you'll see that then the recording light happens once I release. And then the next touch I make will start to record. go. And I'm going to extend that a little bit there, just like that. And now when I go back, you should be able to see just as easy as that. Perfect. I'm going to jump back to the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and close this out since I don't need to see it anymore. And let's get to the real deal, right? The 3D view. So now I told you once you press the 3D button, it's going to give you a split view. If you double tap on that 3D button, it's going to take you to a full screen 3D view. And then you can just tap it again and it'll take you back to your 2D view, just like that. Super easy, but I just want to watch this in full 3D. So I double tap on the 3D button, tap the P to close out my palette. Just going to pinch to zoom here. 2 fingers together, dragging, allows me to strafe my perspective on the same plane. And then 1 finger allows me to rotate. But I think this view looks good. I'm going to go ahead and play back. And you'll see, just like that, we've already got 17 seconds of staging with scenic elements as well as performers. And we would just keep layering on from there. You can layer on. You also have the ability to swap out the music track. So let's say you get an updated recording, just drag the new one onto it and it will replace the old one. It's super, super easy to get started with pre-pro. We're going to play it again because even while you're playing it, I'm going to rewind here. Even while you're playing it, you can move around the model. So if you're wanting to see it from different perspectives while it's playing, I can still give myself completely different sight lines and perspectives while it's playing. And that includes putting yourself on the stage in the middle of all the action. So perhaps if you're a swing, you might want to see what the stage traffic looks like. You can always move the camera such that you're actually on the stage with all of these elements moving around you. It's pretty incredible. And now that we've created that today, I'm going to go back to the home screen. This will be the last important bit of information I give you in our hour together today, is you'll notice that we have our performance here, Live 1. You can double tap on it to rename it, delete it, or in the center here, to duplicate it. So let's say you've started with an idea and you like it, but you don't want to adjust it, only to have to readjust it to decide you don't like it. If you come back out to the project folder, you can double tap on that performance file and duplicate it. So you can always create a safe copy to work on, to mess with, to experiment with. Let's say you started a particular performance file and you've made your cast of 23 performers. Well, you can just duplicate that performance so that you can keep those performers with you throughout every single performance file you create. So once I've duplicated it, then I can just enter this new performance, which it automatically would number Live 2. And then I can feel free to make adjustments in this new project without hurting my other project. The last button we're going to cover is our export options. You'll see it's right above this help button here, export options. Now you'll have the ability to export either the whole project folder as a pre-pro file. So let's say you have a fellow colleague who uses pre-pro. You would click Export Project and save it wherever you desire, Dropbox, on your iPad or your Mac, whatever service you use. And you'll be able to share that pre-pro file with your colleague, and they will be able to import it into their version of pre-pro, as I showed you earlier. and open it and start working on it on their device. But if you have a stakeholder, perhaps a fellow creative or someone who doesn't have pre-pro, even though they should, you can still send them a video of it. So down here you can select video options. You can choose the dual view, the 2D view, or the 3D view. And you would click Export Performance Video once you've added a title. And what it's going to do is it's going to play through that performance. So if the number's 2.5 minutes, it'll need 2.5 minutes to render that performance. But what it's going to do is create an actual playable video of that specific view that you've selected. So once you've got those cameras set up how you want them in the Playspace, these views will be replicated here. And then I'll be able to export this video and send it to you as just a regular video. You won't be able to move around. It'll be locked to the view that I set it at before exporting. But that's a great way if you have someone who maybe hasn't had the chance to get pre-pro yet, learn about it, subscribe, to still involve them in the process of creation and pre-production for sure. That is all we're going to cover in today's first live stream. We hope you had a blast. We've had a blast creating this, bringing this to the world. It's a tool that hasn't yet existed for creatives, something that's easy to use, that gives you high fidelity, high result pre-production, pre-visualization, without having to rent expensive studio space, without having to beg friends to get into a studio for hours on end. With nearly zero budget, you have the ability to create your wildest dreams, whether it's productions that you've yet to be hired for, or it's productions you already have in the pipeline that you're already starting to muse ideas for. It's all right there in the palm of your hands with pre-pro. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next Monday, 10:30 a.m. We will cover some more advanced topics, but in the meantime, have fun. Get in there. We've got the preset venues, the preset assets. Create as many performers as your heart desires, and start playing around. Give us a tag on social if you've made anything cool you think you want to share with the world, and we will see you next Monday.